And yeah, with further ado, let's pass it on to Colin here. And Colin, you want to share your screen, so I'll just stop sharing mine and then you can take over.
Hi, everyone. Just moving some tabs around here. I'll be with you in just one moment. Fantastic. Can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
Fantastic. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, everyone. Hope you're all keeping really well. My name is Colin. I'm one of the Thinkific experts. Over the next hour, I want to offer as much value as possible to you, whether you're just starting out a Thinkific journey or like me, you've been here for 5+ years. I hope there's something in this that you can take away and use straight away. Everything I'm showing you today could be implemented by the end of today. So there's plenty of value here, no matter where you are in your journey. I do have the chat open on one of my screens here. I'll try and jump in as best I can. But as Gabby said, the opener, if there is specific Q&A, we can come back to that at the end. So I'm originally from Dublin, Ireland. I saw some Irish in the chat, so welcome to you. But I'm currently living just outside Toronto, a little place called Hamilton, Ontario. Academically, I have a master's in electronic engineering and a master's in management. Like I mentioned, I started on Thinkific in 2017. I taught predominantly IT consulting courses, and then I pivoted. I built my own SaaS company, and I've been a Thinkific expert since late 2019. My current endeavors with Thinkific are through woundninja.io. You may be familiar with some of the apps. If you use WordPress and Thinkific, you may have come across my name. And we currently have 5 Thinkific apps in the App Store. I would very much encourage you to check out the App Store on Thinkific. There's 80+ apps, and it's growing every single week. There's phenomenal things in there from some great creators, so be sure to check it out. So the first thing I want to address is 5 funnel myths. When I was first approached to do this talk, I said funnels, that just causes deer in the headlights. With a lot of my clients, they start to panic. The word funnel just seems to induce this primal fear. It's really complicated. You have to use all this software. It's really expensive. That just simply isn't the case. These are the 5 myths that I've distilled down from talking to hundreds of clients over the last number of years. First and foremost, funnels are expensive to create, operate, and maintain. That's simply not true. Funnels can be implemented for free, and they can be implemented for under $50. You can also spend thousands of dollars implementing funnels, but the idea that they're expensive or they have to be expensive to work well simply isn't true. Everything I'm going to show you here today can be done for free or for less than $50 a month. 2, funnels need to be complicated. You need to have subscription software to work properly. There's plenty of companies that will sell you the sun, moon, and stars for $1,000 a month. Again, simply not true. You can build great funnels with very easy to use software like Zapier and MailChimp is what we'll be exploring today. The third one is custom landing pages. You need to have very customized landing pages that need to be tailored to your business, have flat dynamics, timers, countdowns, etc. for your funnels to work. Again, simply not true. Some of my most converting emails, which I'll talk about today in this lecture, are one-liners, or they're two-liners, or they're a very small paragraph, and the page it leads to just has one button and a simple text. You don't need to go into very advanced custom landing pages for your funnels to work. 4 is you need to hire and retain someone to implement your funnels. I'm probably talking myself out of a job here, but you absolutely don't. If you can use Facebook, if you can use Thinkific, you can definitely create your own funnels. And like I said, everything we show you today, you can implement today. And I'm also going to show you how to do it. I've jumped on calls before for funnels, and they talk about these great funnels, but don't actually show you how to do it. So we're going to get a little bit technical, and I'll show you step by step how to implement them. Funnels need to be multi-step, complex user flows to be successful. I've looked at funnels where there's 20+ apps in use for one particular use case. We were trying to fix one particular element of it, and no one actually knew what it did. The client didn't know what it did. The people who implemented it didn't know what it did. And at the end of the day, no one really knew what this was doing. So if you can't draw your funnel on a piece of paper and if it doesn't make sense, then it's just not going to work. So you don't need complex funnels. The thing I want to take away for this whole series over the next 20 minutes, 25 minutes is a funnel is a pathway that you want your student to follow to reach a particular goal or outcome. And that outcome doesn't always have to be a sale. It could just be that you're reducing friction. It could just be that you're making sure that you're following up with them. It could just be sure that they know how to log in. It doesn't have to be something groundbreaking, but you want to get the user from point A to point B as fastly and with as least friction as possible. Okay, so what are you going to learn? I'm going to show you 5 essential funnels that every business should have. And these are funnels that are applicable to everyone. And when I sat down to develop this particular series, I wanted to give value to every course creator out there. There are very niche courses that require maybe different types of funnels. I just wanted to show you the 5 funnels that have the most amount of value for every business, and every business should have them. Whenever I talk to a client, especially about funnels, I ask, do they have these 5 funnels? And if they don't, that's the first thing they need to implement, because they will deliver so much value to you and they run effectively on autopilot. Once you set these funnels up, you don't need to go back and look at them again. I'm going to show you how to add them to your Thinkific site. So we're going to be using Zapier and MailChimp in this particular example, and I'm going to be using my own Thinkific site to show you how to add these funnels to your site. Again, like I just mentioned, a lot of funnel companies will tell you all about these funnels and how great they are and how wonderful they are, and they'll have this huge whiteboard with lots of lines drawn everywhere, but you've absolutely no idea how to actually put onto your website. So we want to address that. I'm also going to point out as you go along some ways you can optimize these funnels as your school grows over time. So what you're going to need, I'm going to be using Zapier and MailChimp. So Zapier, for those that are not familiar with it, is effectively an automation tool. So when something happens, something else happens, if else, if you're familiar with development. And what we're going to do is that's going to move the students between different funnels or different email sequences. There are other options here. There's Integromat. There's also pipedream.com, which is a developer-focused tool. I want to just reiterate, you don't need to use these particular tools in your particular school. So say, for example, you've already opened an ActiveCampaign account, you've been with them for a year, that's absolutely no problem. Everything I show you today will be applicable. Here, you'll need to maybe just change how you actually implement it within ActiveCampaign, but the overall formula is the same. So I'm going to be using MailChimp. That's for sending emails. Pricing varies by usage for MailChimp. They have changed the pricing recently. There is a free option. Also, their first tier up, I think, is about $29 US. Well worth the money for sending your emails. There's also on the Thinkific App Store, there's a direct integration, so you can install it without ever leaving Thinkific itself. I'm also going to be showing you some funnels using Typeform. Typeform is this beautiful way to create forms that are really easy to use. You've probably come across these if you've interacted with Thinkific. They use them heavily all over their site, along with other individuals or other individual sites. Fantastic tool. And again, there's also a free account, which is what we're going to be using. Let's move to the next slide. There we go. So what I won't be covering, just to get this out of the way nice and early, I'm not going to be discussing wording or text copy. Email copy is unique to every industry. If you're selling t-shirts, that's very different to selling software. If you're selling software, that's very different to selling sort of confectionery. If you're teaching IT courses, it's very different to teaching, say, French. So therefore, the email copy is unique to your industry and it should align with your own voice. If there's some questions about this, I'll be happy to answer them at the end. There's some great resources out there. I just would urge to avoid the temptation to copy and paste and use something you found online. Use that as a framework and develop your own voice into it. Using your own voice, your own brand is incredibly authentic, and it's important that you match everything as you go along. I'm not going to be discussing landing pages or digital ads. So for example, Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. I'm going to be concentrating on students that are already at your digital front door. One of the big mistakes a lot of course creators make is they get these students to their front door, and then when they arrive, they can't get in. So they can't buy something, they can't get in contact with you, and they leave. So you spent all the money in advertising, which is not actually nurturing the sale. I'm also not going to be discussing webinars or evergreen funnels. I believe there's a whole hour there to discuss that. So I'm going to keep things very simple and broad and broadly applicable to all schools. Okay, so without further ado, the first funnel we're going to look at is the Flutter opt-in. So if you've ever gone to a website and you've seen that nice box that says, hey, subscribe and get 50% off, that's exactly what a Flutter opt-in is. It allows prospective students to join your newsletter very easily. It's also the fastest funnel to implement. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes. And we're going to be doing a bit of a fast forward here and skipping through. But ultimately, we're going to get this done in about 5 minutes. But if you were to do this yourself, 15 to 30 minutes. 1 to 2% of your site traffic will opt in. So then it becomes a bit of a numbers game. If you have 100 people come to your site and 2 of those people join your newsletter, the chance of you converting that 2 people, although it doesn't sound like a lot, remember e-commerce conversion rates are in the region of 3 to 5%. So actually getting 2% of your traffic is pretty high. You have a good chance of nurturing them and getting them into your course straight away. They're also a great resource for deal hunters. We've all done it. We go to a website, we find something we like, and then we go to Google and search discount code. This is exactly, you're capturing that traffic on your site without them moving away. So let's go ahead and look at the implementation. First and foremost, I have MailChimp open here. For those of you that are using ActiveCampaign, it's a similar kind of layout. And again, the flow is going to be roughly the same. First thing I'm going to do is come over to my audience. And your audience is your contact list. That's your spreadsheet. That's all your users. And I'm going to set up some tags. Tags are the core to the way funnels work. By adding or removing tags, we're going to be moving people between customer journeys. And here are a few I set up a little bit earlier. So we have advocate. That's going to be for reviewers. We'll come back to that. There's contact us, fully enrolled, new user, newsletter, review requested, and reviewer. They probably make absolutely no sense right now, but we're going to touch on each of these in turn. The one I want you to concentrate on the moment is newsletter. So the reason I like MailChimp very much is because it has what are called sign-up forms. And these are forms you can embed directly into your website with very little code at all. So if I look here at the sign-up forms and embedded forms, we're going to go ahead and create a contact form really quickly. And as you can see, MailChimp has actually generated this in one click. So I think we're about 30 seconds in here and we're already halfway through building this funnel. So we're going to get the email address, first name, last name. That looks pretty good. Let's say continue. And it gives us the embed code. So let's go ahead and copy that code. And I'm going to come over to my school on Thinkific. Let's look at design site, slide pages. Yes, sorry.
Slow them down just a little bit.
Sure, no problem at all. My apologies.
No, all good.
I apologize for the speed. It's the Irishman in me. We just tend to pick off. Okay, so coming back to the homepage, we're now going to copy and paste the code from the footer. We'll come into edit. And we're loading up this in my my homepage. This is just a demo website, so it's not looking the best at the moment, but we're going to improve it as we go through this this webinar. So now I'm going to search for a new section, the site builder, and we're going to choose text and media. This will bring in a default, so we'll click edit. And now we're going to add in the code. So one of the very handy features, which a lot of course creators don't know about, is there's actually a code view here. It's two brackets. If I open that, I'm going to remove everything that's included by Thinkific by default. And I'll go ahead and paste in the code that MailChimp gave me. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to change the heading here. So as I mentioned, a lot of people who are looking for site footer codes are looking for discount codes. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this heading to say, subscribe and save 15%. I'll just click here and let this reload. Perfect. And the subheading will be, let's just say, discount code. Back to your inbox. And again, this kind of goes back to using your own voice and making sure that what you're doing or what you're saying to your customers really matches or aligns with your voice on your site. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. And there we go. So this is now my homepage. At the very bottom, I have subscribe and save, discount direct, email, first name, last name. Okay, so now the user has given us their first name, last name. What we're also going to do on the MailChimp side is, and this comes back to our tags, this is where we start to build. I'm going to choose tags here. I'm going to add them into my newsletter. What that means is when a user filled out this particular site footer, it's going to tag them as a newsletter. So I retrospectively come back into MailChimp and say at the end of the month, I send out a monthly newsletter to all my subscribers or each week. I can then send an email to everyone that's tagged as newsletter and they'll receive it. I can also use it for automations, which again, we'll come back to in the next couple of funnels. So I know I was going a bit quick there at the start. I just want to check, was there any particular questions maybe from the section I went a bit too quick, or will I continue on?
I think we're okay. I think there's some people are maybe just not quite following, but I think, yeah, maybe just if we can slow it down ever so slightly, that'd be great. But you can keep going, Colin, and
okay.
And we can ask the questions at the end for sure.
Perfect, fantastic. I'm just going to make sure I can see the chat a little bit better. And I do apologize once again for moving a bit quick there.